All right, I want to share something with you. It's a piece of poetry that feels mysterious and really beautiful. It has this weight to it, like it was written hundreds of years ago. So let's just dive in, experience it together, and then we'll try to pull back the curtain and see what's really going on. O tender night that nurses broken breath, where love, soft-winged, would linger past its hour. Wow, okay, right from the start, you can feel that melancholic tone. And notice what's happening. Love isn't just an idea. It's a soft-winged creature, something delicate that's trying to hang on just a little bit longer. And then you get reason. But look at how it's described. It's pale, not confident or strong. It's trying to analyze what's happening, but that image of fragile spheres that spin on borrowed power, it just gives you this sense of vast cosmic loneliness that, logic just can't quite get a grip on. Now we're getting physical. We're moving from these big concepts to something, visceral. Flesh is called a ruined guest in beauty's fading room. I mean, what an image. It's like the party is over, the lights are coming up, and this is what's left behind. And then the poem just dives straight inside. We hear directly from heart and mind, but they're without a face, half-shadowed. And these questions, was I ever lost or found? They're just hanging there in the darkness, this deep, unsettling uncertainty. So you're probably expecting some kind of answer, some kind of resolution to all this, but you don't get one. Instead, the voices just dissolve. They melt like dew. The conflict isn't solved, it just evaporates. And all that's left is this profound sense of emptiness. And this is how it ends. The song, the meaning, the point of it all, it just fades away before you can really grasp it. And that last line, leaving the night more tender for despair, it's like the sadness itself is what makes the moment beautiful. It's just staggering. So it feels really old, doesn't it? Like it could have been written 200 years ago, easily. But the real story behind this poem is, it's way more modern and frankly, a lot more surprising than you might think. To really understand what's happening here, we first need to look at the players in this tiny internal drama, because the poem treats these abstract concepts not just as ideas, but as living, breathing characters. This is really where the poem gets its power, right? It takes these huge feelings and puts them on a stage. You've got love, this little fragile thing that's fading out. Then there's reason, all pale and trying to argue with the inevitable. You have flesh, the ruined guest, and then the big ones, heart and mind whispering these lost questions from the shadows. It's a whole internal battle staged like a miniature play. Okay, so if these are our characters, what's the story they're telling? Well, this is where things get really interesting, because this poem, it's not what it seems. It's actually a collage built out of the echoes of much more recent art. Let's play detective for a second. The first big clue is right there in the opening line, "O tender night." Does that ring a bell for you? It's a direct nod to F. Scott Fitzgerald's novel, Tender is the Night. And as soon as you make that connection, everything just clicks into place. That feeling of psychological decay, of fading beauty and tragedy. That's the whole vibe of the book. The poem is channeling Fitzgerald's specific kind of heartbreak. Now, the second source is even more recent. Remember that line about fragile spheres that spin? That feeling of cosmic loneliness? That comes directly from the band Beach House and their 2015 Space song. I mean, if you've ever heard that song, you know exactly what that feels like. That dreamy, floating, am I even real kind of atmosphere? The poem just nails it. So what exactly are we looking at here? You could call it a kind of creative reverse engineering. This poem wasn't discovered in some dusty old book. It was constructed. It takes the emotional core of a modern novel and an indie pop song and translates them backward in time into the style of a much older art form. But that raises a question, right? If the themes are so modern, where does that classical feeling come from? Well, the specific style it's mimicking is absolutely crucial. This isn't just any old poetry. It's designed to sound exactly like the work of one poet in particular, the great romantic John Keats. And choosing Keats is a perfect move when you think about it. I mean, this was his whole thing. Personifying abstract ideas like love and reason, check. Drenching everything in a deep, melancholic tone, absolutely. And he was obsessed with that relationship between beauty, decay, and mortality. The Keatsian style provides the perfect classical framework to hold all these modern anxieties. It proves that a 200-year-old poetic language might still be the most powerful way to talk about these feelings. Okay, this is a fascinating creative exercise for sure. But so what? What does it really tell us? Why does an experiment like this actually matter? What this experiment really reveals is that our core human emotions are pretty much timeless. The specific feeling of glamorous ruin in a 1930s novel or the cosmic loneliness of a 2015 song, these aren't new inventions. They're just echoes of the same contemplation of beauty and death that a poet was capturing way back in the 1820s. The language changes, the technology changes, but that emotional truth, it stays the same. And that leaves us with one last thought. This isn't just about admiring the past. It's about seeing the connections that flow through all art, like one long, unending conversation. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? What modern song or story or even movie that you love is just speaking an old truth in a new voice? And what would it look like if you translated it back?